Welcome into this technology update presented by DHL Supply Chain. I'm Isaiah Buchanan, and I'm joined by Stefan Shablinski, the Vice President of Go Green, and Ted Vallon, the Senior Director of Asset Management. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Doing well,
Very good, thank you.
It seems DHL Supply Chain is really focused on investing in and developing a variety of new technologies. I've seen your recent announcements about autonomous forklifts, locust robotics, and autonomous trucks. And you're here today to talk about electric vehicles. So what are you doing with that technology, and what are your plans? Stefan, I'll let you start things off.
Yes, thanks. That's a great question. So electric vehicles are a key technology for us to reach our carbon reduction targets. The targets, as it relates to our own fleet, is to make sure that at least 30% of our own fleet will be electric trucks or another alternative to fossil fuel diesel trucks. So that's an important technology for us. And for us, it's important to understand how to deploy this new technology in the future, which is why we started a pilot earlier this year.
So why did you choose this pilot program? How is this going to help with the timeline of your electric vehicles?
Sure, I can take that one. As Stefan mentioned, we're shooting for at least 30% of our fleet to be near zero carbon emission by 2030. That's part of a larger DHL goal over an even longer span of time. We started a pilot with one electric truck that one of our suppliers provided for us to use in one of our operations as a starting point. Once we proved that it would work in our operations, we wanted to take on a larger pilot. So we are in process of putting 12 to 13 electric trucks in operation in about 6 or 7 of our sites across the country in a number of different terrains and climates and types of transportation operations to really test that out and to learn a lot of the things that make EVs a little bit more complicated than the diesel trucks. And we expect to take those learnings and then leverage it for a continued rollout toward that overall 30% target that we have.
Stefan, what would you say is the motivation for the pilot project?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, we believe that it's really important to be one of the early adopters, to learn as much as we can, to be able to bring this technology to scale in the future. We understand now that it's quite a challenge to deploy electric vehicles, but we believe that it requires a lot of learning and also changing processes, upskilling people in our organization to figure out how to deploy electric vehicles in the future, almost like a standard way of doing business in the future.
So where are you with that timeline? Are you still lining up EV OEMs and evaluating technologies? Do you have any pilot projects right now?
Yes, we are. We're making a lot of progress. We started earlier this year in earnest, first selecting the actual OEMs that we wanted to work with, evaluating our site operating profiles to figure out where EVs could be a fit based on the mileage range and a number of other factors. You have to evaluate charge time available and some other things like that, payload constraints. There are also some considerations around available incentives that help bring the cost down. So we've made all those evaluations. We've also selected some providers to assist us with implementing the charging infrastructure. So that was another round of activity to identify those providers we wanted to work with. And then they went out and performed site surveys to determine the specific infrastructure requirements. And so now we're at the point of kicking off the construction related to the installation of that infrastructure, at the same time finalizing plans to actually take delivery of the electric trucks. There also are work streams around preparing to train drivers, because driving an electric truck is different than driving a diesel truck. So a lot of simultaneous things going on, and we're really tapping into a cross-functional team within DHL, across operations, our Go Green team, our facilities team, and others, as well as tapping into an external network of providers to help accelerate the pilot and really bring other learnings to the table.
You bring up a good point. Most of the technologies you are commercializing are used within warehouses and distribution centers. Electric trucks will be used on the roads. What added challenges does that bring?
Yeah, to Ted's point, I think for us it's really important to figure out the differences between electric trucks and diesel trucks, and there are a lot of differences. I mean, no one thinks about fueling infrastructure for diesel trucks. All of this is available. I mean, this market has had decades to build infrastructure that is built for diesel trucks, and almost none of this is available for electric trucks. As Ted alluded to, the charging infrastructure we have to build ourselves at our facilities. So there's at this point in time no public charging infrastructure for big trucks available that we can make use of. But also when it comes to service and servicing electric trucks, I guess all the service stations available in the country are able to service diesel trucks, but only very few are able to service electric trucks. So all of this infrastructure needs to be built. And that's why when we talk about suppliers, we're actually not talking about suppliers, but partners. We need to have a lot of partners on board to jointly build this infrastructure. And one of the efforts that we have started earlier this year is build this ecosystem of many different OEMs and partners to work together to not only provide the truck, because the truck is not the only element to bring electrification to life. It's the charging infrastructure, it's the service infrastructure, it's the training capabilities to train our drivers, because the driver has a huge impact on the range of an electric truck, because the electric truck is able to regenerate electricity and feed this back to the battery. Depending on the capability of the driver, you can squeeze out another 20% of the range of that battery. So these are all very important elements that we need to piece together. So the purpose of this pilot for us is not to bring out another 10 or 15 electric vehicles and be happy with that. But the purpose of this pilot is really for us to learn how to bring it to scale in the future, to change processes, to build a playbook so that people in finance, in our fleet management, and our operations really understand how to deploy electric trucks almost like as a standard concept in the future, as opposed to being something very special for us.
How are customers going to benefit from this Go Green project?
Sure, they can benefit directly because they are effectively outsourcing their supply chains to us. And transportation, conventional generates carbon. And so part of their goals to reduce carbon come through the services that we're providing. So by DHL taking the initiative to take on these pilots and to, work to convert our fleet, really helps them in their overall carbon goals as well as part of their overall supply chain. And DHL is really taking a position, to be forward and open to taking on new technology. There are a lot of uncertainties and some risks that we understand we're taking on by moving forward in this pilot, not just waiting for others to take it on, but being a part of that sort of leading edge in this area. So I think that's part of what we bring to the table as well, is that learning curve and ability and willingness to take that on in the market.
Or what do you think the timeline is with this infrastructure for the electric charging stations for trucks? How long do you think it's going to take us to be where we are sufficient in that area?
I think there's going to be a lot of evolution to take place, and because we wanted to get going on it, we are installing charging stations at our actual operating facilities. I think a lot remains to be seen how it may unfold in terms of public charging, or also some type of shared scenario where maybe one of our trucks is able to charge at one of the delivery locations instead of always relying on charging at our home domicile. So it's one of the really interesting things in this space is the amount of new solutions that are going to be brought forward. The capital markets will decide what technology makes sense, and who and how is it paid for, and things like that. So again, we didn't want to wait too long for all that to be determined. So we're going to move forward, but continue to watch things evolve and develop as we progress.
Gentlemen, where can people go to learn more about DHL's transportation capabilities?
Sure. If people want to learn more, they can go to our website and dhl.com/supply chain/transportation.
Stefan, Ted, thank you for joining me today for this technology update talking about electric trucks. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.